Welcome back to SOS. I'm Staff Sergeant Badass, and today we're going to talk about SHTF and can you get prepper burnout? It's a good question, and you sift through videos on EDC to bug out bags to food rotation to water rotation to all this other stuff, and there's things people don't think about every single day. They get into like, okay, oh, well, all right, I got my water, I got my food, all right, I got that covered, and I got my mountain house, and my gadgets and gear, and I got that power generator I always wanted, and now I've got solar panels. That's good. You can go on and on. It just forever, and it just can go on and on and on and on and on. People get that, but then can you get prepper burnout? Some people can. They can get burnout, but what would I recommend for someone with prepper burnout? Well, hardcore preppers, there's different types of preppers, okay? You got your preppers that are going towards homesteading. You got I've said that before. And you got your low-key prepper, that's just worried about power outages and little things, floods. That could be disastrous. All sorts of stuff, right? Little things, natural, just normal stuff, Then you got hardcore preppers that are more focused into, heck, what if they lose their job? Some people think about job loss and being out of work. And the food preps that they've stored, canned goods, dry goods, bucket storage, all that stuff, you could end up falling back on that. You could end up falling back on it and start eating it, right? And feeding your family. You don't know what could happen. And this goes into other dry goods that people don't think about, like toilet paper and, paper plates and, stuff like that could be useful. And you get people that think about that stuff. And also the people that think about tools and having shovels. How many shovels could I get? What if you break something and you don't have another one, a backup? People actually do go and shop. Like I've said before, the flea markets and stuff like that, they do these little get-togethers, and you get the old dudes sitting in the back of the pickup truck, and I got 6 shovels back there. They want like $2 each, or a sling blade, or those are key tools to have, or a post hole digger. How many people can even think to have a post hole digger? What if it's a doomsday scenario and you want to build a fence? What if you haven't built the fence yet and you don't have a post hole digger? It's going to be a heck of a time trying to dig little holes with a shovel when you could have just had a post hole digger and put some posts in the ground and start building yourself a fence. Stuff like that is, for other types of preppers. You've got your long term, and the long term preppers can get burnt out. And you've got people that, there's so many different types of preppers out there. There's some that just, prep for an emergency in their car. They're driving to and from work every day or something. And then you get preppers that focus on their surroundings, like complete. They're, say they don't work. Say they're retired. They're retired, or, they've reached that point and they're on Social Security, or they've reached that point, and they've got that little retirement check or whatever it is, and they're already at that point, and they penny pinch and they still prep, but they still stay vigilant and aware and know their surroundings and what's going on. They do the best they can. There's people that don't have a lot of money for this stuff either, and like I've said before, there's, they go to Goodwill and stuff like that, and they gather up stuff. There's other things you can do at Goodwill besides buying other stuff. Like people that want to get into leather crafting. Leather crafting doesn't have to start with buying leather online and having it shipped to your house. You could go to Goodwill or whatever thrift store it is and look for stuff made out of leather, old leather jackets and stuff like that. You never know what you'll find that's made out of leather at one of those places. And it's something you could stockpile and have materials. It's just more stuff for your noodle. You could use this stuff. you could shift gears in that direction if you wanted to. That's strictly up to you. Now, like I've said before, you got your job loss, power outages, and stuff like that. And it is okay to take a break. It is okay to take a break for a minute. And then don't forget about your family. Just take a look and focus with your family. Go get your mind off that stuff, for a little bit. Take your mind off of it. If you're getting burnt, just take a break. Take a break. Spend time with your family. Get a closer look. You start finding, when you take a break, you start finding the Swiss cheese in your plan. You start finding it, and you never know what you could find. Just the stuff that doesn't even involve prepping actually can start with your family, but it does lead to prepping, and you can find holes in your plan just by spending time with your family. Trust me, when you've got 3 kids and a wife, you can find holes all kinds of places in your plans. Okay, I'm not saying that to scare you. I don't want to scare anyone or upset anyone. Keep that in mind. But it goes into where you live. Where do you live? Hardcore preppers will start looking at where they live and try to focus on a better spot for living, and they'll get to know their surroundings quite well, know their neighbors quite well, and start talking to them and stuff like that. And had a neighbor that just moved in. They bought the house just across the way from me, and they needed tools. So I hooked them up with some tools so that they could get their yard work done, because the person had left the place in just a wreck, and I had tools and I have extras. And it's one of those things to keep in mind. It's kind of where the post hole digger came into mind, and repairing fences and stuff. I didn't think much of it, and thanks to my neighbors moving in, and they needed some stuff to get things going, I was like, hey, I've got one of those. Let me get it for you, and I'll hook you up, and you can fix all the stuff you need to fix. And it's just, you never know. More stuff to think about, right? And when it goes to like the people that are, like I said, take a break and just chill for a minute, and then you can start finding other things when you're doing other activities that doesn't involve any of this stuff, and you can find more. And when I helped them out, I thought, man, I didn't realize, how fast that would get used. And I've had it for a few months. I didn't know how fast things like that would get used, and it gets used pretty quick. And I'm thinking, hey, look, if it's SHTF, what if, and these people that I talk to every day could use this stuff as well, and I could make their lives better, and in return, it makes my life better for making friends and things like that. That was something that I just wanted to share with you guys. That's just a freebie. It's extra. It wasn't even attached to this video. I was thinking about that, and I wanted to throw it out there. That kind of goes with the thrift store thing. Now, live your life. Is that words of wisdom? Live your life. Stay alive, don't die. Thanks, that's our badass. You're great. Focus on where you work. Not just where you live, but also where you work. The people you work with. The people you share that job with. Things like that. Focus on them too. Not just you. And take a break when you're taking your break, and talk to them about this stuff. You could refuel your fire for prepping by talking to others. Being a shut-in, being cooped up to yourself, not sharing these ideas with them. That's kind of what I went with family, because you can open the doorway to more ideas with friends, with family, people you work with, people you share your everyday life with. That person you sit and you have that coffee with in the morning before you even get your day started. And you never know, they could be secretly into stuff like that. And it could be the person that drives that Jeep to work every day. It could be the person that, just does basic stuff and you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know and have any idea. But like I said, that's how it helps when you're taking that break. it's not really a break. It's more like taking a break from just focusing on it by yourself, also focusing on it with others. And that will refuel some of that, um, that, um, that stoppage, where you're just kind of taking it from there. Uh, Focus on how long does it take to get home. I know this is kind of random. This is another thing that I was thinking about. How long does it take to get home? Could you walk home? And I'm not saying it's for all the fitness geeks out there. I know there's a lot of them that watch the show, but how long does it take to get home? Where do you work, and how long would it take if you had to walk? Man, and if you would have to walk, another thing to keep in mind that goes back into prepping and more ideas for your preps is a bicycle. How far is it? Can you walk it? If you can walk it, then there you go. If you can't walk it, do you have transportation for when your car doesn't work? This goes into people that prep for other types of disasters, EMPs and things like that, in the event that their car's not there or their car doesn't work. But having a bicycle, if the situation where you could stash a bicycle, leave it locked up, it's an idea. Attach it to your vehicle, and then if you know your vehicle's still going to be there, something else to keep in mind. Shortage on fuel also is another idea for a bicycle. Bicycle is a great prep, and that's another thing that Sippy and I were talking about a few days ago about bicycles with the carry trailer and trailer that you can stash stuff in, and you could put gear and whatnot inside the little carry tote, or the kids, you can chunk the kids in there. That's just more ideas that we've been considering. We want to do a bicycle with the trailer type thing. It's more fuel for ideas for you. I try to do this sometimes so in case people are getting burnout, they can have something else to focus on besides the normal stuff, okay? As you get people out there, they focus on they have like blinders on, right? They only focus on like guns, ammo, and food, and they forget about water and first aid and all that other stuff, power, electricity. How's that even going to happen? Or the person that forgets to pack I've said it before, nail clippers, they forget the nail clippers. I'm telling you, man, them little suckers will grow. They'll start going, bleh, and the next thing you know, you ain't got no nail clippers. I'm just saying. Just an idea. Get a pair of scissors. There you go. A multi-tool with scissors. And there you go. You can clip your nails. But yeah, I wanted to do that. And also one more thing with preps. Something that Sippy and I do. If you've got a deep freeze, okay? If you got a deep freeze and you've got a generator, okay? Also, you've got a fridge, and make sure you have a generator that can run both. Okay, just throwing this out here. That way, you can keep your items cold if it is a grid down or whatever it is, and say your generator still works, and you can keep these things cool. Go to your local supermarket, say when it's not time to buy a turkey or it's not time to buy a ham, and take a look, because I guarantee you. You can get turkeys like $10, big full size turkey. And, I like the hams. I've found hams, like giant full size hams, like $6 or whatever, like super cheap. Okay. Get stuff like that and store. Also, these are for the preppers that are more like into, what if I lose my job kind of thing and stuff like that. And also for the people that prep for a power outage and stuff like that. And make sure that generator that you've got, if you've got some type of electric stove, that works pretty good. You can take that electric stove, pull it out, set your generator behind it or whatever, run your hoses or run your, well, I guess that wouldn't work so good in your house. Okay, let me redo that. As you were. take the generator and then run you an extension cord, okay, and from the outdoors and then into the inside house. Don't run it in your house. That would be bad. Anyways, I guess, oh, here comes the trolls. Here they come. Anyways, these are just my ideas, okay? It's just something to think about. But yeah, you can run extension cords, get your electric stove going, get your fridge, keep your fridge going. You've got a deep freeze, keep your deep freeze going. And that way you've got the food situation solved. And as far as like lighting and stuff like that, well, you've got lamps and other jazzy stuff you can play around with in that category. But I hope this helps you out. Try thrift stores. Shift gears. Change the way you do things. Go check out a thrift store. Go check it out. If you're getting into leathercraft and you've been watching my videos and you like that stuff, try a thrift store. See if you can get a bag that's made of leather. There's purses. You got a purse. There's leather jackets. There's those leather pants nobody wanted. I'm telling you, there's plenty of materials out there you could probably snag. Think of how many belts they have. They probably have so many leather belts, it's ridiculous. And you could probably make some stuff out of that. Just throwing it out there. And not just for that, but other items, food prep items and stuff, tools. You can get a lot of cheap tools, stuff that you wouldn't think about, but think about a, total catastrophe. You know what I'm saying? Think about total disaster. Think about the tools you would need if electricity doesn't come back, ever. Think about those tools. Think about, pickaxe. Think about, like I've said, the sling blade and stuff like that. These other items could be quite useful in a SHTF scenario. Get your tools. Keep them stashed. You don't have to use them every day, but you've got those. And it's also bartering chips. Someone's probably going to need this stuff and you've got it. And you didn't pay much for it because you did the right thing and you bought it used, and you can repurpose this stuff. And I'm going to do more videos on repurposing, and I've got some stuff coming for you. We're going to repurpose some old tools on the show. And I know I've done it before. I'm going to do some more of it so you guys can see how you can bring this stuff back to life, and it looks brand new, and it's ready when you need it, and it's there. So there you go. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you more stuff to think about, and it gets you out of your slump if you are in one. And that's pretty much the purpose of the video, to get you out of your slump if you're in one of those stages, if you've reached that burnout point. I just wanted to help. All right. You're watching SOS. I'm Staff Sergeant Badass, and have a beautiful, fantastic day. And take it easy.